Hi there, and thank you for clicking on this video. We got a requested build by a username Queef3977 asking for Nezha builds. To be honest, I had to check. I've discussed Nezha builds as like a daily driver for like daily use, um, but I've never actually done like a straight up here my Nezha builds video. I guess. Uh, So I guess I would at least be a decent reference point for Nezha builds. Lord knows I have enough of them. Um, so let me just get into the builds, and I'm going to tell you straight up, for most of the Star Chart and Steel Path, I run a speed Nezha build for most things. I do have a couple that are more niche. Like this is the one I personally use a bit, but you'll see this one fairly regularly in like weapons testing. Um, Obviously, like this is a significantly more expensive build. Shield gating, tons of tank. The philosophy behind this is pretty simple. Not that it's a bunch of drama, but I did swap out Guardian for Blessing, so that's about the most radical thing I could possibly do, right? Um, but the build's basically straight tank, some utility, Um, Vigilante Pursuit is the flex slot. Sometimes, if I know I'm doing a longer mission, I'll swap out for Prime Sure Footed. Just if I know I'm doing something where it's like a sortie and it's like an Eczema Stronghold. Occasionally, not having Prime Sure Footed can bite you in the ass. But generally, you're pretty stable between Firewalker and Warning Halo. But generally, the theme with Nezha is you want a ton of tank. That Nezha is single purpose, was originally kind of a meme. It was my first triple lumber frame. Since then, I've done a couple more, but Nezha was the first. Um, the one that I use regularly is this one, so if you're looking for a build, I guess. Again, same philosophy, different modding. I did add Prime Flow. This is just, it's a speed build designed to sprint. If I'm running low level content, I'll even swap out on my weapon for Amalgam Serration just to get the sprint speed up. You know, just trying to speed clear, swap out the faction mod if I'm running general missions. Like I do this a lot with like the Tonkor and whatnot. But going back to the Nezha builds, the thing about Nezha is he survives off of damage reduction. So you have your three, um, which is like damage redirection. Your shield absorbs 90% of the incoming damage, and 10% passes through your shield to your health. It's basically 90% damage reduction. Then you have adaptation because he has so much armor and like damage reduction on top of it. You just double down on it. Adaptation, it scales correctly. Uh, the most expensive mod on here is health conversion. This is a Samaris mod. Um, it's either 75k or 100k standing, but it gives you a ton of armor, which helps scale the damage reduction even further, considering, you know, you've got 400 armor to start with. Guardian scales you even more. Sorry, hold on. I have an armor shard, don't I? Yeah, I have an armor shard. So 250 armor. This gives you a significant amount of armor. And due to the interaction with Reaping Chakram with his 2, you can easily keep this up. Especially because there's a 3-second window. You're basically throwing the chakram the entire time. And spamming it, it's super cheap. It gives you shield gating. And then if, say, you miss shield gate, you can not get one shot because you're basically running around with like a couple thousand armor. Um, the next most expensive thing on the build is Arcane Guardian and Arcane Grace. There is some flexibility in this. Now, Arcane Guardian is no longer best in slot. We have Blessing now. So technically, this would be correct. There's a bit of utility in it. Um, like if you're not running the synth set, say you don't have the mods on the pet, Blessing gives you basically 50 free uses of equilibrium, and it will help you increase your health. So let's take a look at it. We have 375 armor. This is going to stack super fast, so it's not going to be perfect, but you can see 1575. That is a significantly tankier Nezha. And because we already have armor on the frame, this ends up being better effective health points, also scales Grace. If you don't have Grace, Blessing would be a more core arcane. This is farmable. It's the Lua arcane. There's also the store from the Zeraman. So this is the build, give or take, that I'm generally using. It's a speed build. When I'm in mission, if I'm trying to get through the mission, generally not trying to make it take longer than it needs to. And the sprint speeds too. You have shield gate armor. Equilibrium and flow is a very good setup, especially when it interacts with the Panzer, which is basically my core daily driver. I really only swap this off when there's new content and I need to scan enemies, then I'll run Helios. Or if I'm farming plants, which will take the Oxalis. If I'm hyper farming, or I'm really focusing on a farm, then obviously I'll take the Smita, right? So those are the only reasons. But then as soon as I'm not doing that and I'm just doing general mission loot, and just doing mission completion, like say I'm running like a Steel Path mission or something, or like the, what is it, the, not the invasions, but the other one. The Panzer goes right back on. This is the default. I need a reason to take this guy off. But synth deconstruct, synth fiber, with equilibrium on the frame, and the interaction with Reaping Chakram, that is a hell of a combo. You will get your 50 stacks on Blessings super quick with Nezha. Easily done within 5 minutes. So if you're running like a 20-minute mission, you're easily going to get it. So that's generally the theory behind it. There isn't really too much to say. It's a duration build. 254 feels really comfortable to me. The one lasts 76 seconds, which is more than enough. It's cheap to cast, so it's more quality of life. Technically, you don't even need it. Because it's so cheap to cast, you can just recast it. So the duration is literally just so it's not as annoying. Like you can run Nezha without duration. So don't even use the the 4. I mostly cast the 1 at the beginning of the mission, then the 3, obviously, and then 2 to keep energy up, life steal, or pick up health orbs, health recovery. So if you want, you can helmet over the 4, but with this build, this is my daily driver, right? So if you're looking for something that does Steel Path, easily goes into like a 20, 40, 60 minute survival if you find yourself like a good group. Nezha even does like pretty comfortably against like level 5-600s on the Steel Path. Really tanky frame. This guy does fall off when you start getting to the point because of the health pool, and Blessing will help. Definitely has some issues with getting one shot, even as tanky as he is, once the enemies start really scaling. Because it is damage reduction, and if your adaptation isn't stacked, you don't have that damage reduction. And there's only a 90% damage reduction from his 3. You can basically get one shot with your shield up, right? So that's generally how it works out. Even running through toxin clouds on like infested, on like Steel Pass, say you're doing like a Terror Rim survival, I really don't notice too much of an issue. The only thing that really counters Nezha is the infested ancients. That little tether they shoot out. it occasionally gets me. But that's basically about it. So it is what it is. If you can't keep your 3 up, that can kind of kick you in your ass also. Like, but between the energy drain, having so much energy economy on this, it's just pretty easy. It's built for general use. Nezha is a fantastic option for just generally running missions, especially with the speed build. Keeps you nice and nimble. You're dodging a lot of shots. You're completing the mission pretty fast. You're not having to deal with like mission, like when you are running like a sabotage or anything like that, and you see the point that you have to go to is like 400 meters away. You can get to it in like a minute. Like, this is an incredibly fast build. Obviously you could add like a little bit more speed, but it is what it is, right? Can't go complete glass cannon. Even with Nezha, you'll still die, right? So this is the build that I'm running if you're looking for a daily driver. I cannot vouch for this enough. It's such a comfortable build. Um, there just hasn't been a circumstance where I'm like, I feel out of place, or maybe on like a defense mission. Sometimes I'll swap off for like arbitrations, but even then, you just need to be able to blow up the drones, right? So the fact is that this build is my go-to. I'll talk about a couple of other builds where they're more niche, and part of the reason why I have so many Nezhas. Um, but this is the general build you were talking about for daily use, so I'm gonna hold this here for a second, and that should be good. So config A is more of a hybrid. It's still the same tank, but it's a little bit more power strength. 100 adrenaline is for even more energy economy. I'll use this a lot against infested, where I'm not really trying to complete the mission too fast. It's like a survival. This, out of complete and utter personal feel, just feels better. Because the only time the energy economy fails on the speed build is if you get drained and you can't kill something. This one, you can take damage, and all you need to be able to do is just cast your warding halo, right? So you can easily get it from Hunter Adrenaline and Grace. You'll get your iframes, Grace will proc, and you'll recover your health. So it's a really, really comfortable build. Even then, Intensify can come off if you don't really like it. It's just sometimes I like having the extra damage vulnerability. It's a nice quality of life thing. You can also downrank Adaptation to 2 because of the tank that's innate in a Nezha. The max rank, max capacity Adaptation isn't super necessary, just because of the innate damage reduction. And you can go back to using Reaping Chakram, and maybe move Intensify up to here with like a Power Drift or something. So this is more for a general use also, but to be honest, I use the speed frame for what I do most. So let's talk about the other builds. It's not as effective as it used to be. But this is what I was using for defense missions and interceptions. This is actually a 4 build. You have to sort of modify it a bit more. Like, it requires you to be a little bit more active. Even overcutting drift, honestly, to sort of fix this. Like Vigilante Pursuit or Enemy Sense would be a good slot here, even though it reduces the range. But the philosophy behind it is that this was way more effective before the Eximus changes. Is what you would do is you would run a max range efficiency build, and you would CC an entire tile. So on interceptions, right, all you have to do is just complete the message. You would stand in the center, you would have great energy economy, you would cast your 4 and literally just CC the tile. And this was sort of like an older style build, not like before the Exynos, but this is like a really old uh, Orokin interception or defense mission style, or not defense, interception. This was how you used to cheese it: is you would run a massive range, because the enemies for like this was like years ago. Uh, you really didn't have to kill them. So you could take like a massive range Nezha, cap 2 of the interception points, or 3, and you could literally just go to level cap with it. I never did a true level cap with it, but like 40, 50 rounds, right? So it definitely works. I knew a couple people that took this build to level cap. Personally, I never did it, but it's just because you're sitting there waiting on shit to spawn, right? This one isn't really too relevant anymore. It was more tank, and it was before the sharding system, so this isn't anything. And then you have a modified spam build for, say, like a shotgun or a Tonkor. Using the new arcanes, this is one of the things I was testing out. One of the things you can do, like this is for weapons that are very, very, very spammy. It's got the Rifle Scavenger aura on it with Coaction Drift and Arcane Rise. So you're getting, this is for very spammy, heavy reloading weapons where you're constantly reloading. Just gives you a little bit more damage. I've been messing around with this and it feels pretty good. But in terms of, I vouch for this as my daily driver, and I've gone up against like 400 or 500 level enemies. This is just something I'm messing around with, but if you want to, it's a pretty easy 3 forma build. This is all in the same thing. And then the other one, which is a 1 forma. So if you're looking for something cheap, this is an option. This is a very tanky Nezha. Also, it uses a different type of scaling. Got quick thinking on to help with getting one shot. When you get all the additional scaling on, you have the 10% from, or the 90% from 3, 90% from adaptation, and then you gain an additional multiplier on health drain. Well, combined with Reaping Chakram, you can gain a lot of health and energy back at the same time, where you gain an incredible tank, but this is more, you have to manage it. Like you really have to be paying attention. And it is a shield gate build for obvious reasons, but you have to be able to kill pretty quickly. So I don't know what your build is, Queef, but this is also an option, and more importantly, it's 1 forma. So this is definitely an option. You could also swap out Augur Reach. Reaping goes here, and then you just basically rock this. It's a little bit more spammy, but more importantly, it's 1 forma. Okay, so it is what it is. This is also an option. Rolling guard adaptation. You're very, very safe. So this could be something also to consider. So you got to stay alive using your 2. You're casting it a ton. You're getting your shield gate off of it. Make sure you have one more auger mod, because this is 25. Brief Respite gives you 150. So we do 25 times 1.5 gives you 37. Well, his shield is 38 with the Decaying Dragon Key. This is what I was using on the other ones also. So you need one more auger mod somewhere else on the build. So you can put it anywhere. That's part of the reason why I had auger reach here. It's just I needed something. Also could have done duration. That would help also. So that would give you shield gate. Nice and easy on Nezha. You know, slightly older frame now, all things considered. It's not super old though. But this is also another build that I do run occasionally. And it's also more for fashion, right? So the Nezha, having Nezha as like your daily driver is definitely a pleasant experience. It's not very sweaty. Like, even though there is shield gating involved, you are not, like, living by it for most of Steel Path. Like, this build on its, sorry, this one on its own, can face tank quite a few shots to allow you, if you were learning shield gating, this is definitely a good crutch. Where you're still reasonably tanky. Enemies that are like base Steel Path, right? Like even like doing Tavuni or something. They haven't scaled enough where you can get one shot at base level Steel Path. Like a Bombard is literally going to be the only thing that can one tap you. Also the Kuva Guardians with their charge, that can kill you also. But those are significantly higher damage compared to the normal stuff that you're dealing with, and a lot of that has to do with adaptation not being stacked, right? So, if you're looking for a build, I straight up recommend this one. It's the one I use most of the time, frankly, and I'll just have like an auger mod on like the pistol or something to get shield gate, right? So, Queef, I hope this helps. Um, yeah, just in terms of like other daily drivers, you're looking for something with multiplicative damage. To be honest, I'm still using the Stalta. Not that one. Yeah, this one. I'm since I made the video on the daily driver like 2 months ago, I haven't changed this. This is still what I'm using. And like in terms of sidearm, like a secondary, I'm using this purely because it does fantastic on the Lewis survival. You know, you got magnetic, it's a magnetic nucor, got corrosive, got heat. Um, it easily hits for millions on the heat dot when it triggers, and it tends to kill stuff. And this is killed up to level cap, so it is what it is. Requires Cascadia Flare, but it's a Zeraman Arcane. You could even get this um before you get to Steel Path, right? At least pick up the Arcane and then get the Steel Path Arcane when you get Steel Path, right? So you can farm this. The melee I swap out a lot, so I really don't have like a recommended. To be honest, I've been using the Sour Fang a bit, trying to make it work, right? Need to roll this ribbon though, even more. Only at 200. It's rookie numbers. Got to pump those numbers up. So other than that, I maybe I'll make this like a recurring thing, like a once a month daily driver update on like things that I found have worked. So like maybe it could help people like quality of life adjustment on like playing Warframe. Or like anytime I like tweak the build or something, because people have asked about daily drivers and stuff like that. Um, and to be honest, me like philosophy wise, I'm just trying to enjoy the game. And Nezha just does everything at such a high level reasonably well. Like he has damage vulnerability, he has damage mitigation, he has easy shield gate. If you run a bit of range on him, you can get pretty decent CC with his 4. Like let me cook up a build. Hold on. There we go. So you got Breathe for Spite and some duration, some range. Flow, equilibrium. Rolling guard. Intensify. Natural talent. Oh, and the augment. Blazing Chakram. And whatever you want up here in the Exilus slot, right? The forma that I have in this is obviously hurting the build of it. So, like something like this, even as simple as this is, um, this will easily do most content. Like, especially now that you have stuff like Blessing. Bro, Blessing makes you so tanky. You could even do for general mission running. Like this. Reaping Chakram, Equilibrium, and Flow is a significant amount of tank. Gives you a bit of range. So the range on the 4 isn't going to hurt Eximus, right? Like they're just going to walk through it. But you can CC the rest of the units and focus on the Eximus. So that would be the philosophy behind this, and you would have to adjust your play style accordingly. 27-meter radius is 56 meters across, right? Because it's 27 and a half or 55 meters across. So it's a decent range. Like it's a decent range. And natural talent helps a lot. If you're willing to do a yellow Archon shard, I would say just because of his casting speed already, you could literally just do 1 yellow in Nezha, and you could take off natural talent. It feels fine. Like, that's what I have on the other one. Actually, I think I have 1 yellow on here. Yeah, and it's for casting speed. So this would be a build with no shards. With 1 casting speed, you could take natural talent off, and you would get another one. And you could even run, maybe like I wouldn't say do like efficiency, but you could do like an augur reach or something. So you have a little bit of duration, little bit of range, and you can focus on specific things more, right? If you don't like the range, you could even go for a safer build, augur secrets. Get more scaling out of your 3. Technically, the 1 and 4 do more damage, but that's not really why you're using them. But it would definitely help your damage vulnerability, which at higher strengths starts becoming a bigger and bigger deal. So something like this would definitely be viable. Blessing is farmable, so I'm going to leave this on here. Grace, though technically farmable, it's RNG related. Where Blessing, you can just buy it, right? So whatever you want here, you could do Rise. I've been messing around with the new Lua Arcanes. And to be honest, I'm enjoying them more and more. Like, Blessing Rise is unironically a fairly potent combination when you're getting into Steel Path. Like, this actually feels pretty good. So you would learn shield gating. You would have an easy shield gate. Like, it's literally just cast your 2, which is your spammable ability, which is great, right? This would work also. Obviously, it would require more forma than the 1 forma build, but like, it's the D polarity, the aura, and I think the dash for equilibrium. So aura, adaptation, and equilibrium. So these 3, I think, is the 3 that need it. So you can downrank adaptation, take the hit on Brief or Spite, not equip an Exilus mod, and equilibrium should be fine as is. Or if you want to run a max rank equilibrium, run it over here, and then do like a regular flow as like an intermediate step until you get the forma that you want. And because you're running the augur set, these are cheaper than running like the regular variant, like Stretch and Intensify, right? So you'll save some stuff there. So I hope this helps. Nezha's just super tanky, man. It's a good experience running him. He doesn't need a lot to get going, honestly. And if you get health conversion for most star chart stuff, bro, health conversion is a big game changer. It's what it triples, quadruples your total armor. And all you have to do is cast your shield gate. That is an incredibly good payoff. That's an incredible compromise. That's an easy yes. If you for regular star charts, normal steel path, I don't even run rolling guard on it. So rambling over a bunch of different variations. Priorities is equilibrium, reaping chakram, prime continuity, blessing. I would feel comfortable mentioning as like a priority because it's farmable on content you either should be done with or should be doing right now. And more importantly, it's technically a Zeraman arcane because that's where the store is. But it doesn't drop there. The store is there, so you can buy it there, but you have to farm the resource on the conjunction survival and the whatever the other one is, but everybody does the conjunction survival. So get it from the Luithrax, spend it on the Zeraman, pretty easy. So adaptation, you can downrank, health conversion. Pick this up when you can. It's a wild difference. Any frame that can generate health orbs just feels so much nicer to use in Modern Warframe. If you can regularly generate health orbs, and with Equilibrium, you don't even need Energize 90% of the time. Like, Nezha does not need Arcane Energize. Maybe on the pause button build, the max range one, because I'm not really moving that much. But I have so much energy generally, I can last the round CCing everything, and then I'll regen the energy as I run around. Right? So even then, Energize is just sort of a comfort pick. But this would be another example of a daily driver that is way tanky, where you can just run missions. But for daily driver, this is what I'm using. Obviously, I was using Guardian. I should have had this over. So this is what I'm going to be using. So I hope this helps. It was a long ramble thing, but it's just, this is what I'm using. So I hope that helps. Take it easy. And hopefully this helps you enjoy Warframe more. Also, hold on. So people complain about it all the time, how sliding Nezha is, right? But the fact is you can there's sort of a, I think it's even mentioned in the wiki, but Nezha slides a lot, right? It's part of his passive. If you're sliding and you're trying to go faster, because of the way his slide works, he slides faster. So you can actually gain a speed boost by sprinting and hitting control at the same time. It'll actually speed you up. And if you're, like, say like that, right? Like you can see sliding. If you double tap the slide, it'll kick you in a direction. So you can, like, drift around corners. So the idea of needing the that augment mod that disables his slide passive is absurd to me. I mean, yeah, like 15 power strength is nice. Or, follow me on this, you can hit slide again and it'll launch you. Because generally how I use him is I'm running around with my 1-up normally, right? Like, and I'm constantly hitting control. So that's how you fix that if you find that annoying. And to be honest, he's also kind of fun running double slide, you know, minus friction, right? Pretty good time. It gets a little wild, and occasionally the game, because it doesn't really know how, like, fast you're going, sometimes it will actually, like, bug you and, like, kick you really far. And that can get annoying. So I generally don't run double slide. Especially with all the crap that's in modern tile sets. So, but this is generally the build that I'm using. Stalta also. Which I would swap over to acceleration, which is what this build is. So, If you're looking for a general build, I can vouch for this one. If you're running like a rifle that's like a bullet hose and you have acceleration, acceleration's pretty cheap. Might be worth farming up some prime junk, selling it off and picking this up. This is a big power spike. And it allows you to take fire rate off the primary and easily slot faction mods. So this is a big deal also if you're going to be killing with your primary. So anyway, rant over. I hope this helps. I talked a little longer than I probably should, but if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and tell me how the sound level is. I've adjusted it over the last 3 videos, and hopefully this fixes the issue, because I'm looking at where the mixer bar is, and it's saying I'm pretty loud right now. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps. There we go, one more time. All right, later.